It's a part of the soul and the heart and the mind of a boy who's raised by the railroad.
The next step is going to be to put some tape along the edge of the metal flashing. This stuff is pretty sharp, and so this metal tape seems to work fairly well. Now this tape that I'm using has a back on it. I think that's important because you want to be able to center it down the middle, and the way you do that, the first step is after you cut your tape to length. Now if you'll remember, I cut the metal flashing 50 inches, and I just took my tape, stretched it out a little bit longer than the 50 inches so I make sure I have enough. And since this has a back on it, I can bend it right in the middle. So I'll start from one end, bending it in the middle. And you can buy this tape down at Lowe's. It's over in the area where they sell duct tape. Except duct tape doesn't generally come with a backing on it. And if you try to do this with tape without a backing, it obviously won't come apart. So, where you have an equal amount on both sides. Oddly enough, of all the steps that we're doing here today, actually getting the tape on fairly smooth is one of the most difficult steps. And it's difficult until you kind of get the hang of it. And using this double back, or this tape with a back on it, helps a lot. So the first thing after we cut it is we bend it down the middle, and now we're going to just flatten it back out. But what you now have is the center marked. Then you can take the backing off of it. You take the backing off of it. Your objective, number one objective, main objective is don't let it fold and stick to itself. If you stick this side to this side, it's not coming apart. You'll have to start over. Okay, so the next step is to start at one end and center the fold right at the very edge of the metal flashing. And if you'll do that, you can stretch the tape out all the way down. Now, I want to mention something else while I'm doing this. If you'll notice, I have put a board on top of the metal flashing fairly close to the edge and clamped it down to the table. The reason I do that is because this metal flashing comes in a roll and it wants to go back into a roll. So it needs to be very flat whenever you're putting your tape on and straight, so you'll have a good chance of getting your tape fairly smooth. So once you have the tape fairly well stuck to the metal flashing, put your gloves back on. Here again, we're dealing with some sharp metal, so we want to make sure we don't cut ourselves. And start in the middle and start pushing it down and smoothing it out. Now you want to keep this secure, and you want to start from the outside and push in as you go in order to smooth it out. Now don't worry about getting it real smooth. It's not that critical. And it's definitely going to have some wrinkles in it. So you just go all the way from the middle to one end and then go back to the middle and go to the other end. And it doesn't actually have to be perfectly centered either. So just want to make sure that you've got some tape on the edge in order to prevent someone from cutting themselves. And then you can take your knife, trim the ends. This one's already at the end, and you're done.
Clickety sound of a fast-bound train and the high-speed hum of a passenger train becomes a part of the soul